There we go. Okay, well, welcome everybody. This is the December meeting of the IRGS German gig. And we're going to continue on with our topics from the Family History Guide. And this month we are talking about church and cemetery records. So I will try to add the links into the chat as we're going. And that way you'll be able to see the links when we are finished with the recording. But I'm going to share my screen here and get everything set up so that it doesn't cover all of my stuff. So everybody can see the Family History Guide webpage, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. So as I mentioned, we started out a couple months ago. We talked about research, and then last month we did archives and libraries, and then this month we are doing church and cemetery records. Again, the Family History Guide is thefhguide.com, and you can access that by going to the countries page, and then from there going into Central Europe, and then selecting Germany. So in the church and cemetery records, they talk about the goals here, and the goal here is for to learn to use German church, religious, and cemetery records. And they go in and they have links to the Family Search Wiki for German church records. And if you click that little I next to it, it expands out to the different sections of that wiki page: church records, information recorded in church records, locating records, and reading records. And we'll go into the details of some of these pages in just a little bit. And then they have a 1-hour video on German church records that was done at Family Search at RootsTech a couple years ago, 2019. And that's a really good record, or a really good video if you want to learn more about the German church records. And then right below that is the handout that came with it. So you can go in and take a look at the handout and see some of the links here. So there is a bulk set of German Lutheran baptisms, marriages, and burials from the 1500s to 1970s. This link doesn't work currently, so you'll have to do a search for German Lutheran baptism marriage records in the catalog at Family Search to find that link. And then it goes down and talks about, the frequently asked questions, like how will I know if my immigrant ancestor was Lutheran, Catholic, or another denomination? Yeah, my tongue is not working today. So in your case, as you're going through your family histories, how do you know if they're Lutheran, Catholic, or some other denomination? What sort of hints have you found that help you find that information out? Does anybody have any?
Well, in the marriage records for my grandparents-in-law, it said that she was, and this was not in the records, but a citing, it was either on Family Search or Ancestry, I don't remember which. Mm-hmm. It said that she was Catholic and he was, what was it? Evangelical.
Right. Yeah, evangelisch. Yes. Mm-hmm. And you'll find that occasionally also. And in my case, when my family did that, they actually left Germany and went to Amsterdam to get married because there was less problem with the different religions in Holland than there were in Germany. Yeah, so, we've talked about Meyer's Gazetteer before, Meyer's Gaz website. And, when you know the town, you can type in the name of the town and it'll tell you if there's a Lutheran, a Catholic, or a Jewish church, synagogue in the area. And that's going to help you, so if they came from a specific town and there's no Catholic parishes around that town, well, they're probably not looking for Catholic records. They may have been Lutheran or Jewish even. So that gives you a good idea there. Also the region. There are certain regions in Germany that tend to be more Catholic, and other regions that tend to be more Lutheran or evangelisch. We've already talked about, how you can try to find the hometown of your German ancestor, but there's some hints in here on how to do that also. And then how you can learn more about the parish that's there. Again, they talk about IRGS, but we've talked about the red books and other, other books that have the parish boundaries and information about accessing those parishes. And those books are in the Indian River County Library. And so you can go to those and find them very easily. And then there's some other resources here, and we'll talk about some of these resources as we go through the discussion today. Also, there are other video clips in here, finding and using German church records, and this comes from the Ancestry Academy. So this is one of the classes on the Ancestry Academy's website. And that says, you need an account there in order to view that option or that video. One of the things that's really interesting is, when you do end up finding your church records, there are things in those church records that are helpful. And one of those is the godparents, so there's a link here to a record or to a document talking about how godparents information can provide clues in your research. Going on down, there's information about Archeon, and we'll talk about Archeon in just a little bit. And then there's different, areas. So you may be able to find records for Pomerania, but you might not be able to find records for another region in Germany. And we'll try to talk about why that might happen as we go through some of these record sets. There's also the map guide. So this is a two-part handout that gives you help on how to use those parish records books. So again, that series of books that you'll find in the library, if you don't know how to use those, you can use these handouts here, and I'll pull one up here. Did I already download this? So I'm going to open this document. And so this, this is 4 pages here, part 1, and it talks about how to find those records in the map guide to German parish registers, that collection of parish registers. And it gives you a step-by-step instruction on how to do that, gives you some helpful hints. And then it also gives you an activity. So, they talk about locating volume 9, and then what's in the volume, locate the book, and, how to do it. And they give you the answers down below so that you can see if you successfully followed that guide in order to find that information. And the same thing with the guide number 2. And we'll pull that one up here. And now here, this is talking about what is in each volume. So when you go to the library, you know which volume you need to find based on the location of your ancestors. And you can see when they developed this one, there were 53 volumes in this set. There are some additional sets that are additional volumes that are available currently. And this was done in 2016. But this will give you the information you need, to get a start on your research. As you can see here, Bavaria is 10 volumes just for Bavaria alone. And you can see Württemberg, there's 4 volumes listed at this time. I love my birds. And then there's some information here about learning about connections between German church and town records. So the church records are held at the parish, but then there are church duplicate records, and those duplicate records are then held at the town or regional level in the archives. So, you may have found church records in the archives that we talked about last month, But then you want to go back to those parishes and you want to try to find the actual parish copies of those documents, because the parish documents are the original and the ones in the archives are the duplicate books. So in the duplicate books, they may have just taken down the basic information and not taken down the notes that might be in the margin or other extraneous information you may find. So the church book copy may include things like, a baptism record might have the birth record or the marriage record or the death record discussed in that document. So I've found some really great baptism records, and it says married and it has the date, and it says died and it has the date. And now I know when I go to the marriage records and the death records, I can find those records for those individuals a lot easier. But in the duplicate record, which might be in the archive, those notes aren't included or may not be included. So just a helpful tip to go through there. And then there's also a section down here about Jewish records. Okay, so you can go in here and there's some links here to the Center for Jewish History and the Jewish Genealogical Encyclopedia and Jewish Germany database. And those will get you out into other data sets. In my case, I don't do any Jewish research, so I'm not familiar with what's on those sites. We'll tend to focus in on the Catholic and the Evangelisch records in the discussion today. And then there's some quick links here to Ancestry. These are for the German Lutheran baptism records and burial records, marriage records, and so on, that you can go in and find links to those records. If we click on them, they go directly into the Ancestry collection, and you can search those right there individually. And you can see there's related data sets here, so you can go in and get more detailed information from some of these data sets. And then at the bottom of the page, it talks about German cemetery records. So we all use Find a Grave, and many of us use Billion Graves for our research in the United States, but those sites do have cemeteries for Germany. And so you may be able to find some records there. And then we also get a link to MyHeritage, the War Graves Index for the German military burials. Okay, and then down below, these go directly into the individual states pages on the Family Search Wiki. And so if you're looking for a specific site like Baden-Württemberg, you can click on it and you'll see when it pulls up, you get the information about Baden-Württemberg, and you can see the maps and figure out where you're looking. But you can also, this one doesn't have it. Usually on the right-hand side, it has links to other wiki pages. So, okay, so are there any questions on what's in the Family History Guide before we move on to some of the specific websites that are discussed here?
No questions.
Okay, no questions. So then we're going to go in and this is the Family Search Wiki. And I went to Germany Church Records. And from that point, I'm able to find more information about how to use German church records. And you can see here, you can pull down the specific locations and information that you're wanting to research. But it gives you an overview and a history of German church records. And then it talks about the duplicate church records, which we just talked about. And, those duplicate records, where they're available, they're supplements to the parish records. So your parish records might be missing, but the duplicates might be present. Again, remember that the duplicates were held in a different location than the church parish records themselves. So if the records at the church were destroyed because of fire or bombing or mold or whatever it might be, you want to check for the duplicate records to make sure that those records are present and that will help you replace any that might be missing. As it says here, that the duplicate records often differ slightly from the original records. Okay, so be aware of that, and it talks about why that might happen. And then it talks about the information you're going to find. So in the baptism records, these are the things that you'll typically find in a baptism record, or in a marriage record, you'll find this information. You know, you always find the marriage dates and the dates, the names of the bride and groom, but then some parishes were a lot more detailed, and they'll tell you, you know, was this person married before? Were they widowed? Who were the witnesses? What were their ages? Where were they born? You know, they'll have a paragraph in there about the individuals. And so you want to try to read through those paragraphs if you can read that old German text script. And then marriage bans and proclamations. Of course, the marriage bans, they have to be done in advance of the marriage by a couple of weeks. So every week for a couple of weeks, they will announce the intent of marriage in the church. And then you have your burial records, confirmations. And then in some cases, the churches will have family registers or family book that will have more detailed information about the individuals within that church. You also have parish genealogies, or the Ortsippenbooks books, and some of those are available also. And you want to try to see if you can find those, because many of you may remember when we were meeting in person, one of the pages that was shown frequently during presentations was from an Ortsippen book, and it had all of the information about the individual family members, when they were born, where they moved to, if they immigrated or left the town or something of that sort. Then if you know your diocese, you can easily find the websites that might have that information. So for example, Augsburg, well, Family Search has historical records on it, and Matricula has the Augsburg diocese records. If you look at Osnabrück, you can see that Matricula has those records. You can look in the Protestant records, and you can see the regional church records for like Baden. You can see Archeon has it, and there's some things in the Family Search catalog. And so you want to look to see, you know, where might you find records for these areas. You can also find the different provinces and get more information by finding the wiki pages for each of those different provinces around Germany. And then the former German areas, the outside parishes that are outside Germany. So the ones that are in Poland or Austria, you can find those. The great thing down here is that you have these clickable maps. So, you know, you can see the Catholic diocese here, and you can figure out which diocese your family may have lived in, or the Evangelisch archives. And you can see which archives, you know, have those records in them. And you can click on those and go to those pages. And also they give information about writing a letter. So if you want to write a letter to the parish, you know, there's a German letter writing guide here that lays out what those letters would look like. And you can see, you know, how to do a quick email, how to do the envelope, the translations, and you'll have an outline of all the information that you should ask for when you do it, and what it means in how to write it in German. So there's an example letter right here that you can fill in the blanks and request information. So you can go down a little further, and there's some other downloadable handouts that are helpful while you're researching your information. You know, things like the letters, the script. So you see examples of different scripts. You can see the vocabulary. So what are the words you're looking for when you're looking in these different records, birth records, marriage records, and so on, so that you can find those words in the text and be able to see those a little easier. You know, the days and months, numbers, and so on. So a lot of information. Again, I always recommend to people look in the Family Search Wiki to find more information about the topics that you're going to be researching. Okay. Then, so this is the handout I just talked about from Family Search. This is from Roots Tech 2019. And now I want to get into some of the websites that we've been talking about. So actually, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to copy that Family Search Wiki page so you have it in the chat. And then I want to copy the matricula page. And we've talked about matricula quite often. Again, this is for the German Catholic records. And so when you're in matricula, those records are free. Okay, so you don't have to pay for the German Catholic records here. And you can look at resources, you can search, by location, but I tend to go directly to the map. And when I'm in the map, I can then go in and type the name of the town that I'm looking for. And it gives me suggestions, so I can click on the town and it will zoom directly into the town. And all of these little red pins are the Catholic records that they have acquired in this database. So maybe I thought my family was from Dama, but they're actually from Osterfheim, or they might have been from Steinfeld or Oldenburg or Holdorf or Vorden or Neuenkirchen, Vorden. So my family actually comes from all of these towns surrounding Dame, along with some other towns also. But when I zoom in, I can click on it and I can see the name of the church. So this is St. Victor's Church. And I can go directly into the St. Victor's Church. It gives me a picture of the church and some information about the church. So, previously, so what was the church in 1187, 1221, 1827, 1901, 1925? So these churches, covered this area during those time periods. And I can get some more information about the church here. And now I can see the record sets that are available. Of course, everything here is in German. I can go in and I can translate the page. And now everything's in English. So now I can read it all and I can show original. I can go back to the German if I want to. So now I can see the baptism records from 1650 is when the records start in this church. And I see that there's 65 different sets of records. There's 50 shown on this page. I can go to the second page and see the next 15. And I can go right into the time period that I'm interested in. So let's say I'm interested in, 1850. So I can look at the baptism records for 1850 and I'll click on the little image. And I can see all of the pages over here. And I have these little index pages for 1842, 1844, 1846, 48, 1850. This is where I want to look. So now I look here and I see that 1850 starts on this page. So I see January 1st, 1850. There we go, January 1st, 1850. And I can see, this child Tangeman was born here in Bode. And so Schildmoller. So I can see the last names. I can see the Joseph Tangeman, Elizabeth Wilkie. Oh, Wilkie's one of my name. Wilkie Matke, actually, that's one of my names. Meyer. So you can see the information and zoo, and then this is the location where that person was born. And then I can see over here who were the witnesses. So I have, this person here and that person there, and you can see there's a Meyer, Wilkie Matke listed as one of the witnesses. So, I could go through and see if this person, I believe this is probably Elizabeth Wilkie Matke and Joseph Tangeman. I can see if that person is in my family tree, and then I can add that birth information. Notice right here, can anybody read what this says?
like America or something?
It is. It's America. So this indicates to me that this individual emigrated to the United States at some point in time. So you can see that they were born December 1849. They were baptized January 1st, 1850. It looks like 29 December 1849 was the birth date, and then the baptism date was January 1st. This one here was born January 5th. This one was January 11th and was baptized the 13th. This one had been baptized the 5th. So a lot of really good information in here. And you do, you want to look at the notes that are included in these. And I'm just looking to see if there's another one. There's another one that says America. This one here. Okay, so you see this one says 28 January, 2 February. So born 28 January, born 2 February. This is a Willenbrink child. But then you see COP 1870, May 5th. Okay, does anybody know what that indicates? COP 1870, May 5th. So COP indicates a marriage date.
Marriage date.
So this person was married May 5th, 1870. So now I can go to that record set and find that one. Notice down here, this one was born 3 February, baptized 6 February. And then you see 26 February, 1853. Obit.
Died.
Yeah, so this is the death date for this Weithorn individual. Okay. Down here, we again have an obituary, obit, April 1853. This one, obit, January 8th, 1855. See how useful this information is? So here's another one, 1856, March 11th.
15 has American, I think.
Yeah, yep, right there. This one, there's another death date out here. Okay, so this is why you want to, pay attention to these records. You don't want to just use the indexed information, because here's a marriage record. All of this information would not be included in the indexed information for these individuals. Okay. So any questions about matricula? Again, when I use matricula, I always go to this map and then I do the search for the location to find the records I'm looking for. Notice we have the baptism, weddings, funerals, historic entries, family registers, civil registers in this case. And we go on to the next page. And let's see, what do we have here? More civil registers, transcripts from funerals, copies of baptisms, copies of weddings, indexes of weddings.
Matricula, huh?
Yep, as long as you're Catholic, the matricula database is going to be really helpful.
Oh, okay.
Now, notice on matricula, when we go to the map, it identifies all of the areas where their records are. So you notice there are some from the Netherlands, there's some from Belgium, Luxembourg, a few from Switzerland, some from Austria, Slovenia, Croatia, Hungary, Poland. Okay, there's a lot here down here in the southeast Germany and Austria, and then a lot here in the northeast Germany. Very little in this middle section. Why do you think that might be? Part of this middle section is highly evangelisch, highly Lutheran. So all of this area here in Baden, Karlsruhe, Stuttgart, Mannheim, Freiburg, all of this area is heavily Lutheran. So you're not going to find the records here for that area. Okay. You're going to find those in Archeon. And so I'll post the Archeon link in the chat. Now, Archeon is evangelish, but they're starting to pick up Catholic records. Okay. Now you can do a search in here in Archeon, and you can pull up the area that you're looking for by location, or you can go in and browse. And the great thing about the browse is that it's alphabetical order. So if I'm looking for church archives in Baden, I can just click the Baden records. And now it's going to tell me the towns or the regions in Baden. The green ones are available, the white ones are not. So if I go down here to Baden, and I'm just going to look for one that I know about. There we go. So Elmendingen. This is where my, oops, there it is. Elmendingen, not Eimeldingen. Elmendingen is where my wife's family's Protestant Germans are from. So I can click on that. And now I see what records there are available. So we see funerals and family books, family registers, mixed books, baptisms, and so on. Now I'm going to click on one of these baptism sets, and I can see, this is the register that's available, and I can see show in viewer. Now it's going to tell me I don't have permission. So I mean, first of all, it says this is how it works, so on and so forth. And but the problem is I do not have a subscription to Archeon. So I don't have my passbook. I can go to register and create a profile. Now I believe I currently have a login. I can register here. I'm already signed in, and you can see here that right now they're doing a sale. So 20% off research. So if I go to the shop, available until the 23rd, now I can see what the costs are. So I can get a 1 month subscription, a 3 month, a 1 year. So you can see here is 1990 euros, 41.75 euros, 143 euros for a year. Or I can get a 20-day license, or I can get a professional license. So the 20 days are any 20 days during the year. So if I decide I'm going to research a lot the next 3 days, then I can do that. And then in a couple months, I come back and I do another 2 or 3 days. In another month, I do another couple days. So you can do 20 days over a year period, or I can do a 1 month and just put it all into 1 month. Notice here, there are restrictions on how many downloads you can do. Okay. So in the lower ones, I can do 50 downloads. So I can find up to 50 records during that period of time. If I want to go more than that, I have to go for a 3 month, and I can get 150. Notice that this 3 month is a lot cheaper than the 20 days, but I have to use it in 3 consecutive months. So just gives you an idea. Notice that if I'm a researcher, it's 600. If I'm a professional, it's $600 or 600 euros for a year. So just, keep an eye on that. And then you can get coupons and stuff. So you can click on that, get a coupon code, and then fill in the information and go. Okay, so you can use your credit card to do this. So there's, it's a great way of doing the research. There is some stuff here on how to, for genealogists, these are your how-to lessons. So they have things on reading German writing, a couple exercises, reading the church records, how to get started on family research with Archeon, and then what archives are available. So I can go in here and I can look to see, for Baden, what's available. The regional church archives for Karlsruhe, the state church archives for Stuttgart. Okay. And of course, the ones I need are the Karlsruhe archives. So I can go right directly into that. And now I can see, here's information about the archive. And, here is the archives webpage. I can go right to the archive itself, and I can see if anything is on their archive. And, many of these archives might have their church records already available. You can look at their genealogy sections, and, it might talk about which archives you can research on their church archive itself. So in some cases, the church archive might be free, but Archeon might be a pay per view sort of site. So you always want to check the archives first. For example, the Karlsruhe archives, I know are on the Baden State Archives. So I could go directly to the Baden State Archives and pull off the church registers for free. I don't have to pay for them to get into the records in Archeon. So just be aware of that when you're doing your research. You might be able to find the archives free online already. Okay, any questions about Archeon? Okay, so this is the Catholic Archives of Germany. And I want to copy that and paste that in here. And you can see they have articles on parish archives and different events and things that are going on. And so this will allow you to get some idea about what records are available and what sort of things you might be able to look for. So it's basically a good discussion site for the archives, and you may be able to get links to other records that might be available, or find out more information about the archives that you're looking for, so that it'll help you, research what you're looking for. You get your map here, and I can go in, I can click any of these locations and get more information about the archive. I can get the archive's website. I can get their email addresses, their physical address if I want to send them a letter. So again, if you can't find the archive online, this is what you would do next. You would find the archive's webpage and contact them directly to get information. There's a similar archive for the Lutheran records also. Okay, so let's look at cemetery records. So this is the Volksbund website. And this website is the German war graves records. So you can see here, there's 4.8 million war dead and missing records in here. And you can type in your family's name. I'm just going to use Westerheide because that's the easy one for me to put in here. And you have to put in your information. Not necessary. United States. Must be at the top. Nope. Let's see. Oh, there we go. And yep, and search. So they do track, who utilizes the website. You can see here, there's 43 direct results. I can click on this individual. You see he died in 1945, place of birth Lage. And when I click on his information, I get his date of birth, the date of death or missing, the service rank, his birthplace, and then where he died. And so you can see here, this looks like possibly Russian, maybe. And then I get a little bit of information here. So you can see that he was not transferred to a military cemetery. His grave is in, Alexandria, Russia. And so you get information about that. Now, and then the map of the location where he is currently buried, and then a picture from the cemetery. So the benefit here is if you have a German ancestor or German relative who died from the late 1800s through the mid to late 1900s, they would probably be located in this database. So in many cases, I find cousins or, something of that sort that located here. Now, moving on, in Find a Grave, you can type in Germany and do a search and see that there are over 1.7 million graves that are in Germany. And you can, go to these and find more information about them. I'm just gonna pull one up here. So there you see, this is from Neubruck, Brandenburg, Germany, and you can see the information here. And of course, this one, Wilhelmine, and born December 18 something 7. There's a stick in the front of it, so you can't see, but you can get the information for those individuals that were in Germany. Now, for example, if I want to go back in and refine the search, I can put in, just see if there's any Westerheide cemetery buried in Germany. There are. So I can go in and pull up the information for these 5 individuals and then add them to my family tree if I was interested in doing that. And also Billion Graves. And Billion Graves, generally it's free, but you can have a paid subscription and get more details. But the interesting thing is if you go to the site map down at the bottom and click on that, it gives you the countries. So I can go right in and find Germany. And now I can go into whatever region I want to go into. Let's just go to Baden-Württemberg. And now I have the different cemeteries that are present. Now, if I click on a cemetery, it's going to tell me that this one here, there are 0 images and 0 headstones. So nobody has gone through and done this one. But a nearby cemetery a half mile away has 134 headstones in it. And now I can go into that cemetery, and look for information associated with that cemetery if there's any relatives that I have there. Or I can add records and so on. Okay. Now you can see that there's 80 images, there's 134 headstones. I can, let's see. I can edit the cemetery. I have a full registration for this, so I can edit information about it. And then there's a cemetery description. There's a website for it. And you see, this is the cemetery here. And I can zoom in on it. Now, this indicates to me that none of these headstones are geo-referenced. So the benefit of Billion Graves is it tells me where the individual is buried. It actually gives me a pin in the map to let me know where that individual is buried. So in this case here, it doesn't look like there's any individuals buried there. Let's see. Usually, if I go back to Billion Graves and do somebody, I'm just going to type in one of my names here. You can see I've uploaded several thousand headstones. So I'm going to do Westerheide. I'm going to do a search, and you see all of these different 170 different responses or results. And I can go in and when the map pulls up here, it's going to tell me, where at in the cemetery he is buried. So you can see, in the cemetery, he's buried in this location, and I can zoom in on it and get more information about that location, as well as, for some reason, it's not doing the satellite view now. It's just doing the regular view. You can see all of the other Westerheides that are buried in proximity to him. So now if I go to the cemetery, I can, I know where I'm going to go hunt. If I'm looking for the surname, I'm going to look in these locations to find them.
Oh, are they all your people, the Westerheides?
Yeah, they're all my people. There are no Westerheides that are not related to me. But I can go down and I can see, are there any Westerheides in Germany that are in this database? And let's see if I can find Germany here. There it is. And I'm going to refine the search. So there are 5 individuals from Germany with that name. And now I have the names of the church cemeteries that they're from. I have the name of the location where they're from. And now, I can focus my research on those individuals. If I want to look at one, I can pop in there and there is his headstone. And these are nearby graves, just not useful, but then this is where he's buried in this cemetery in Germany.
Hmm.
So let's see, was there something else? Oh yeah, so I'm going to put this one in the chat also. Price Genealogy is a professional genealogical services website, but they do have a blog in here. So this one discusses what, how godparents can provide clues in your German research. And so you can see there's different, how to choose a godparent, what are the duties of the godparent, how to use them for filling in gaps and so on. So there's some good information here that you can use as you do your research, but you can explore the website and find out more information about other, German topics that they might have in their blog. So I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to go back to the Zoom screen, and hopefully I provided you guys some links, some resources that you weren't aware of in the past, or maybe if you were aware of it, I gave you some hints on how to more successfully use those or efficiently use those sites. So are there any questions? I know I give you guys too much information every month, don't I?
Yeah.
I have questions.
Sure.
This is Cindy Brantley, and the Volksbund, is that just for people that died while in service, or?
So it'll be military veterans died and missing. So you may find some people who, are buried in a military graveyard or with military honors that would be included in the data set. But you're going to find, most of the German military cemeteries will be there, as well as the cemeteries outside of Germany where German military individuals were buried.
Okay, and then I have another question. Within a family grave, because sometimes you see a grave and it says Vine family.
Mm-hmm.
Does Billion Graves give everybody that's in that grave?
It depends on, so what happens with Billion Graves is there's an individual who takes the photographs and uploads them to Billion Graves, generally using the app. And then there are the volunteers who do the transcribing. So if the information is available on the headstone and it has the names and dates of the individuals, the transcriber will usually add all of the individuals that are listed there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? When you click on Save Chat, where does the Save Chat go? Yeah, that's a good question. It goes into, when you do that, you'll see at the bottom of the chat, it'll say chat saved, and there'll be a little check mark. And then it says show in folder. And when you click on that show in folder, then you'll see where that chat went. If you missed that little pop-up that comes there, just save the chat again. It'll save it into the same folder. And you'll be able to go in, you'll have a duplicate chat in that folder, but it's not really a big deal because you can delete one or save the other one. Can you find it from that point?
Well, I cheated. I print screened.
Yeah. Yep, that's another option.
So is that the same way that you see the recording?
No, because in the chat, there's three little buttons where it says to everyone, and then there's a little page and a smiley face, and then three little buttons. When you click on those three little buttons at the top of that, it says save chat. And then when you do that, you'll get that little pop-up in right above that, it'll say show in folder, and that's where it'll be. So if you have a Zoom account, it may file it into your Zoom account. But you can click on that and see where it goes from there.
So if I wanted to go back tomorrow or the next day and see this whole recording that we did today, what would I do?
So the recording will be posted on the IRGS website.
Okay,
And what happens is usually I render the recording right after this, and then I post it to a link so that Michael Godown can then pull that link and then link it to the IRGS website in the German gig. That's generally where it'll be. Probably won't happen today because I have a notary coming over right immediately after this meeting to file some paperwork. And then hopefully I'll make dinner. And then I've got the meeting at 9 o'clock to cover the 1950 census release. So if not, it'll probably be available sometime tomorrow on the IRGS website.
okay, all right. Do you know anything about whether there's going to be an indexing push for the 1950 census like they did for the 1941?
Yeah. So that's one of the things we'll talk about tonight. We've already had some basic conversations. What they're looking for right now is what were the things that were successful in the 1940 census. So, were the indexing pushes successful? Are there some other ways that we should do that? So those are some of the things that we'll have information on that coming up here in the near future, probably.
Well, it was done that way ahead of time.
Yeah, so, well, the indexing, the indexers don't get the records until they're released. So it was done very quickly.
Okay.
And, there are tools now that can do the handwriting recognition and OCR, that information, much faster than the indexers. So you'll see on Family Search, there's already records that say these records were indexed by computer. If you find any errors, please correct them, and that'll help the computers in the future. So there may be some way of doing that.
Interesting, isn't it, how technology advances?
Yes. Yeah. So Michael posted in here about the meeting next week on Tuesday, December 17th, the IRGS meeting over at the Laura Writing Jackson pole barn. So if anybody's available, there's Mike.
Yeah.
I know I can't be because I've got work, but
No problem. I hope everybody can come and socialize, and I'll post the link whenever you send it to me, Miles, tomorrow or whenever. I'll be happy to put it on the IRGS website. Thanks.
sounds good. Any other questions? It's 4:30. We've hit our hour mark. But if there's any other questions, I'll answer those before we leave.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, what's next month? What's our schedule for next month? Anybody know? We are talking about civil registration records next month.
Ooh.
So there we go. Okay. And if you've had problems getting the calendar invite, let me know, and I will, have the calendar invite resent so that it shows up on your Google Calendar or your iCalendar or whatever it might be. Just send me an email and I'll make sure that, everybody gets the links and things before the next meetings. And I hope everybody has a good holiday, good Christmas, New Year's, whatever holidays you may celebrate coming up here in December. And take some time to meet with the family and, see if they know anything about your German ancestors, and or maybe you can teach them.
You can learn some German customs for Christmas.
Yes. So, okay.
Thank
Great
you
talking to
very
y'all.
much.
See y'all next month.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Miles.